Okay, so starting out this week, trying to get this thing fit up before I go any further. Make sure everything's aligned. So I went ahead and trimmed this off. So this is a 3/16 gap on both sides. The other thing I did was just a little bit of shrinking and stretching here to get this to kind of straighten out, because it was kind of whipping up the into the middle here. So I wanted to make sure that I got this thing here to be as flat across this plane here, where the nose is, it's got a curve in this direction, but it needs to be decked out straight across in this direction over here. So now once I got everything situated where I needed to, I finally struck this midline here. And I took and I stepped this piece over here so that I could lay the two pieces together and have them sit the way I want to before I proceed any further. And just kind of, before I'm jumping the gun, kind of fitting this and that. I'm looking at these lower pieces here and seeing how they jive with it before I make certain commitments. But anyway, it's just kind of a back and forth situation where I don't want to cut anything until I'm ready to go. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. Okay, I was pretty happy with where everything was landing, so I went ahead and I finally did my final cuts here. I stepped this piece down a little bit so I'd have something to cleco it to. And being that it's clecoed over an arc, it's kind of holding its shape the way it needs to be held. The next step, I have this vertical rim that I started with, and I got made a couple of quick templates. This one's near the headlight door, and this one is at the center, and that just tells me how much I need to bend this flange over in order to get the pieces that roll up underneath of the nose. I've got the center piece here, which has the actual profile that I have to maintain. While this piece is too narrow to use, and it also has the grill cut in and two other grill openings, which I would have to fill, and then I would have to extend it either side. So I'm going to make this piece new. This is a good guide for me as far as the arc in this direction, and there's a little bit of a shape, slight crown in it in this direction over here, so I'll use that as kind of a buck. These pieces over here are the pieces that are made for the bottom of the nose. They get the sides started, so this is a compound curve here that basically it doesn't just come straight up. It kind of starts to sweep in and up over here around the end of the nose. Glad I have these, because this is a whole lot of shrinking that had to go on here with a power shrinker in order to get this to turn this metal up in this direction. And I don't really have any patterns other than just taking the spoiler off of my nose and making a bunch of making another buck. So this shape here is going to help me a lot. Right now I have a little bit too much material in here, so I've cut the flange off of it so that I could free this all up, and I can wheel this out and relax this to the shape that it wants to be, which was yet to be determined. But at any rate, this is the piece that goes under the driver's side on, and I'll show you that whenever I get around to fit it up. Okay, you can see where this part of this pan fits now. Basically, what I'm having to do here is, you can see from this side that it doesn't transition right to this point over here. So I'm going to have to spend some time to try and get this to have more of a curve in this area, so we can blend out here at the bottom portion over here. There was a lot of trapped metal in this piece, in the sense that it was flanged up. You see that flange over there? I cut it off and then reattached it with some screws after I did a bunch of metal working on it. There was a lot of when I say trapped metal, that means that this portion of it was worked and shaped, but this bottom portion was not planished out to the point where you know, it would all be relaxed. So I had to do some heat shrinking on the bottom side here and then replenish that. But still, this is going to be a little bit tough, because this is a roll, so I can't just shrink this up to make this curve be correct. So, well, it's not like starting from scratch as far as, you know, trying to do this whole panel from the beginning. It's going to be quite a bit of work to get that to curve in this area, because like I said, it rolls up towards me. At the same time, it needs to have a gentler roll to blend into the bottom of this fender here. So this has to come up a little bit rounder right there, and that's with the nose even a little bit more tipped over than it normally would be. So anyway, that's what I'm up to, and that's what I'll have to get after. All right, so what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to work out a better transition into the fender over here, because right now this is too faceted, and it comes off the fender straightish, and then it goes straight here, and then, you know, it curves into the nose over here. So I'm trying to pick up the material in this area here a little at a time. So how I'm doing is a combination of the power hammer and also with the English wheel to smooth all of this out. I'm basically got an egg shape here that I'm concentrating on. Less here, less here, less here, less here, but this one's going to have to get worked out eventually, because you can see this is, as I'm moving this material in, this is cabbaging up a little bit. So I got to keep moving this out with the English wheel in order to keep this curve going as I try to press down this. Like I said, it's like an oval shape that has to come out right in this area right here, because it comes here and then it flattens out and then it goes into the curve over here. So I have to get this to graduate in all directions, bottom side, this side, and across here. So I'm basically using this nylon hammer right now to make some gains, and then I'm going over to the power hammer and evening it out, and then the English wheel. Anyway, it's a long process, but I got to be careful not to stretch it out too much, because I don't want to end up having to, like in this area here, I had to heat shrink it down and then get some of that excess material out. But anyway, I've got to reshape it, and that's what it's going to take. All right, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I've got a flexible straight edge here, and what I'm doing is I'm putting it on the fender itself, and then I'm wrapping it all the way over to where the curve accelerates over here, and I'm trying to get this to lay against this straight edge. You can see this is taking a natural curve, so I'm pretty much almost there. I'm here as far as what I want is in this direction here, but as you work your way down the curve here onto the fender, you can see I've got still got a little bit of flat spot here where my thumb is. I don't know if you could see that or not, but you can see it's gapped. See where I'm letting it flatten out. Now I'm holding it over here where the curve accelerates, and you can see as I work my way down, there's still a little bit of work that has to be done with the transition. I started out with probably about 5/8 of an inch of a flat, so it was a pretty big gully there, and now I'm down to about an 1/8 of an inch to just work out, and hopefully I can get there without overstretching it. All right, so we got a little bit better, a little smoother transition going on here into the fender. This flexible straight edge lays on there pretty nicely. I'm holding it on the fender itself. And just move the camera here so you can see that a little bit. Anyway, so we're based off the fender and rolling in here. It's looking a whole lot better. It's looking a whole lot better down along here, how it transitions up and into this piece. I'm not going to finalize this. I got to do this panel here next, this filler panel, and see how that all flows. Also, viewing it from the front, I've got to make sure I do the other side. This may require a little bit more aggressive belly to it over here, because it was also very, very flat. In fact, it was reversed. So I've been slowly putting a little bit of shape on the bottom side here, so when it's viewed from the front. But I have to also see what the center section wants to give me, because it might just right now be flowing into the center section the way it needs to be. So everything here will just be clecoed and screwed together in case I have to take it apart and put a little more shape in it, which is not unusual for this type of thing. There's just so many things that you have to pay attention to. and you back off and look at it, and you go, I don't know why I didn't see that before. Sometimes I'll take a photograph, look at the photograph, because sometimes things are more obvious in a photo than while you're trying to convince yourself you're done working. Anyway, moving on. All right, before I proceed with this filler panel here, what I've done is I've trimmed and stepped this lower piece over here to accept an overlap. But I've also placed a strong back in here made out of aluminum. It's temporary. It's just pop riveted in with some countersunk rivets in the flange itself. And what that's going to do is basically, while this, because it has shape wheeled into it, is very strong, you could lean on it. Right here along the edge, if I start pressing the panel in, it'll flatten this back out. I want to maintain this shape. So this basically will help me to maintain that shape while I'm shaping this panel to make sure that I don't get a flat spot in here. All right, working on this filler panel here. I got the same situation going on basically. It looks pretty good initially, the way it's fit up, but you lay this straight edge again on here to the fender. You see I've got a gap there. Basically I've highlighted the area it's low. It's showing itself to be low, and just got to make sure I just focus in this one area and bring it all up and then average it all back out so we get a smooth transition. All right, I've been working on a little bit for a little while, I should say, and this is about where I'm at right now. So I've got a pretty good transition going here into the fender itself, and pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to leave that alone for right now, and I'm going to move on to the other side. All right, before I get started over there, I just thought I'd give you a good look at how this all came out, as far as how all the transitions into the fender. We ended up with a nice swale from top to bottom here in this area. This area over here down below, it follows this shape under here. I don't know how this is going. I might need to add a little bit more shape right in here. Not 100% sure. Once I get this panel here made between these two halves, which will be much later, I have to get that whole side done just like I did this side, and this took me probably about 3 days all told to get this done. Then I can start on the center and see what I need there, but at that point it will dictate whether or not I add a little more shape to here. But right now I'm following all these perimeter lines, and seems to be working out pretty good. Also, this is going to have kind of the lower grill is going to be looking more like the lower grill. Actually, it is a lower grill from there it is. It's a Hellcat lower grill right here, so I'll have to see how that all fits up there. There's the two little inlets that take in the air for the coolers on either side. So I'll have to mock all that up, and maybe that area that I'm pointing to won't be relevant, because based on how far out that grill ends up being here, before we get down to where we're going to try and put a splitter on the bottom here, we have to figure all that out, mock it all up, and see what it looks like before we go ahead with that. But in the meantime, I've got to get over there and work on that side. All right, this piece has proven to be a little bit less challenging than the last piece. It's a little bit better shaped, but I'm still having to work it. There's a flattish area right in here, as there was on the other piece, and trying to get it to arc up into the fender in this area here. I've made a little Sharpie mark around an area that needs to be raised up. You can see it's almost like a little lake here. You know, it's a little flattish around this edge. So, you know, the English wheel is good for smoothing out a lot of this stuff, and if you're really good at it, it's good for shaping in general. But if I want to just address a little area here, like make a bubble here, in order just to raise this area and not stretch any of the surrounding area, that's where the this power hammer comes in a little bit more handy. This has got different types of lower dies. Some are round, some are flat. about 3 of them because they're super expensive, about $150 a piece, these dies. So I tend to be able to work with just a few that I have. At any rate, I'm going to show you, what I'm about doing here, just to raise that. It's a little dance between the air pressure and then a light touch with the foot, just to work this back and forth. Okay, well that's that's getting it. I got to make sure I don't go too far. So what I'll do is I'll smooth this out with the English wheel, average it out, see where my low spots, and as you can see, it's starting to drive material in this direction here. So I've got too much material in this direction. I'll have to shrink this down as I go, and that'll help to create the curve. Okay, so everything's on and clecoed on temporarily, just until I get established this center section where the main grill opening is going to be, and so that's the next thing I'll be working on. I had to come back in here and reshape the bottom of these panels here because it was too abrupt. It was just like a straight edge coming down from here to here, so I had to put a whole lot more shape in the bottom of this panel here. And then I had to come back here, and while there was enough shape in it, generally there was a little crown in there that you could notice once you started looking at it. So I went ahead and did a little work on those bottom sections again, which is the whole purpose of just clecoing it on there and continuing to look at it from different angles. You have a tendency to see things when you keep approaching it from different angles. Anyways, I'm going to be working on this grill opening next. After that, I'll be getting the car on the ground so that I could start to mock up what this front air dam is going to look like. As you can see, all the Hellcat stuff hangs pretty low. It's probably about 5 or 6 inches lower than this this nose. You can see it mostly from the side. The intakes for the coolers, there's one right there. So I have to create an air dam, possibly a splitter or a spoiler. But I have to put the lower, the grill that goes below the nose in, and then mock up around it, see what kind of arrangement we want to do. It's going to be a little bit of a design task here. So I've got to have the car on the ground and get a good eyeball on what it's going to look like relative to the car sitting on all 4 paws. Anyway, that's what I'm doing next. Okay, last thing I'm going to do this week here. It's a short week. I'm going to head up north, and that'll be this the grill opening, this upper grill opening over here. I attached this lower grill piece here just so that I would have the same arc as the piece is molded in, and it turns out to be almost exactly what the bottom of the nose is anyway. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have to struggle and twist that piece up, and it's a piece of plastic, so don't want to stress it out. At any rate, that's where you can hardly see that lower grill, but at any rate, this is what the upper grill center section will look like. There's going to be 2 more sections over here to mimic where normally the signal lights would be on the Superbird, or excuse me, yeah, Superbird type nose that we're mimicking this lower grill for. And those 2 openings will actually be additional grill openings to get more air into the coolers on either side. So we're going to maximize the openings here for what we can. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it this week, and I appreciate everybody for watching, and we will see you on the next one.